On the morning of February 24, 2023, at about 10:30, a former IRS agent in Virginia rushed into his home after hearing there was an intruder. He called out his wife's name, but there was no response. Heart racing, he bolted upstairs into the master bedroom and froze because lying on the bed, covered in all these knife wounds, was his wife, and standing next to her was the intruder. Without thinking, he reached for his gun and fired. But what the police would later discover during the investigation would turn this double homicide into something far more disturbing. Hands down, one of the most insane plot twists you'll ever hear. So, if you love crime and mystery type of stories, then you should definitely get subscribed, because that's all we do, and we upload once or twice a week. Alright, let's get into today's story. Kristen Banfield was a 37-year-old pediatric nurse living in Urgent, Virginia. She had built a life many people envy. She had a loving husband, a beautiful young daughter, and a fulfilling career of helping children and supporting victims of trauma. Kristen wasn't just a nurse. She cared really deeply for others, both in the hospital and at home with her family. She and her husband Brendan shared a home in a quiet Virginian suburb, and they were really in love. She also shared videos and photos of her 4-year-old daughter on the internet, calling her my sunshine and my world. Everything about this family was perfect. In early 2021, so a couple years after they got married, Kristen and Brendan decided they needed to bring in additional help to help balance out work and family responsibilities. Brendan worked at finance, and Kristen's schedule was becoming a little tight. So later that year, in October of 2021, they hired an père, which is like a babysitter or a caregiver. Her name was Juliana Perez, a 21-year-old woman from Brazil. Later that month, Juliana moved into the Banfield home, helping with their daughter's daily routine, easing some pressure off of Kristen and giving the couple a bit more time for work and family. Fast forward to February 24, 2023, so about 2 years after Juliana joined the Banfields. That morning, Juliana claimed she had stepped out for a quick errand, and by the time she got back, the front door was unlocked. Feeling a bit uneasy, she quietly opened the door, and right away she noticed the whole house was a mess. There were toys everywhere and clothes, and some furniture were moved around. She was shocked because Kristen was upstairs sleeping, Brendan was at work, and their 4-year-old daughter, she was 4, so she couldn't have done it. And immediately, it dawned on her. There was someone else in the house. Her first instinct was to protect the Banfield's daughter, so she took the child and hid her in the basement. And she got a phone and called, not the police, but Brendan, that he needed to come home and save his family. About 1 hour later, the police arrived at the Banfield's home. Someone had called 911. Juliana and Brendan led them upstairs into the master bedroom, where they found Kristen covered in all these knife wounds, and the intruder, who suffered 2 bullet wounds, and they were both dead. The police knew, or at least were told, what just happened. The intruder had come into the Banfield's home, and Brendan had acted in self-defense. The officers took stock of the crime scene, tipped it off, and then headed downstairs for a walkthrough of the entire property. As they scanned the house, they quickly noticed something off. The doors were locked from the inside, and there were no shattered windows. There were no forced entry, nothing that matched the story of a random intruder. But they continued their meticulous walkthrough, checking every open closet, every scattered toy, and every overturned chair. As they dug deeper, the inconsistencies in Brendan and Juliana's story became impossible to ignore. Also, Kristen was loved by virtually everybody. How then would she be killed so violently? It just doesn't make sense. The police continued investigating for months, steadily uncovering evidence that contradicted the intruder story Brendan and Juliana had previously gave. So, in October of 2023, investigators executed the second search warrant at the Banfield home. During that search, they made their way into the master bedroom, and what they found surprised them. Juliana had moved in, and she was now living in there with Brendan. And some of Kristen's stuff had been replaced or removed. Given the fact that there were no signs of forced entry, no broken doors or shattered windows, and now Juliana appeared to be living in the same room where Kristen was murdered, it gave investigators enough ground to bring Juliana in for questioning. A couple months after she was brought in for questioning, so in 2024, the mounting evidence overwhelmed her, and she broke. According to Juliana's confession, or what the police will later discover, here's what really happened to Kristen and the intruder on the morning of February 24, 2023. To understand what really happened, you have to go back to 2022, so about 10 months after Juliana joined the Banfields. At that point, Brendan and Juliana had fallen in love, and it had gotten really serious. So serious that Brendan had told her that he was unhappy in his marriage, and he couldn't get a divorce, because getting a divorce would mean losing a bunch of money and losing custody of their 4-year-old daughter, which he didn't want to happen. So they came up with a plan. They were going to get rid of Kristen. If Kristen was out of the picture, then they will be able to get married and have everything else to themselves. Their plan begins by luring a stranger into the house. So, Brendan and Juliana created a fake profile of Kristen on an adult website. The intruder really wasn't an intruder. His name was Joseph Ryan, a 39-year-old man from Washington, D.C., and it was going to be their perfect alibi, a key character in their master plan. So, on the morning of February 24, 2023, Brendan and Juliana waits patiently for Joseph Ryan to walk through that door. A few hours go by, and Joseph finally arrives at the Banfield home, thinking he was here to have fun with Kristen. But little did he know that the online messages didn't come from Kristen at all. They came from Brendan, using a fake profile to lure him in as part of their plan. The moment Joseph stepped into the house, Brendan felt his paws slam against his ribs. His whole body tightened. This was it, the point of no return. And whether I liked it or not, he had to see this through. He waited just a few seconds before busting out from his hiding place. Joseph didn't have enough time to process what was happening before he got tackled to the floor. And in the midst of this struggle, Brendan pulled out his gun and fired. After Joseph got shot, Juliana walked up to him and fired a second time, ensuring their master plan had played out as they arranged. While all of that was unfolding downstairs, Kristen was upstairs, completely unaware of the chaos that had just erupted in her own house. Brendan made sure Joseph was dead. He got up, adjusted himself, went to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, his heart still pounding, headed upstairs, where he attacked and stabbed his wife to death. When everything was said and done, he and Juliana began setting up the scene, positioning the bodies of Kristen and Joseph in a way that suggests a violent break-in gone wrong. And when they were all done, Juliana picked up the phone and called the police, completing the last step of their plan. In February 2026, Juliana got sentenced to 10 years in prison, and Brendan's sentencing has been scheduled for May 8th. He faces life in prison without the possibility of parole.